Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here and welcome back to the servicing table. And I'm doing this video because I've had a few requests, Facebook messages and YouTube messages or whatnot, asking me if I could do a servicing video for Thomas. Because a lot of people have been having trouble with them, getting worse over time, not running particularly well, even though they do to start with, of course. So yeah, all you need to do is service them, and in this video I'm going to show you how to do that. And it is quite a nice simple service, so really anybody should be able to do it, I think. So yeah, here's what you're going to need then. You'll need your various little screwdrivers. That's fairly standard. You're going to want some cleaning fluid of some sort. I used lighter fluid, or you could use nail polish remover or whatever you want. You're going to want some sort of lubricant. I use this Gauge Master oiling pen, but you can use cheap Hemline light machine oil. I think it's sewing machine oil, and it's very inexpensive. You can get that on Amazon. You're also going to want some cotton buds. Like that. I guess you already know what cotton buds look like, so I don't know why I showed those. You may want some tweezers, optionally, just in case there's any hairs or whatnot to, retrieve. These, you also want a couple of crocodile clips hooked up to your train controller or similar power supply. You don't have to use crocodile leads. You can just use, a bit of wire or anything. That's just to test and to help with the wheel cleaning, and I think that's just about it. You might want some paintbrushes just to clean your engine, and all you do with that is just, it's just a little tip for you really. Best way to clean your engine. But yeah, the first thing you're going to want to do is to get the loco body off, and I'll show you how to do that. But first I'm going to cradle the loco in one of these. Now you don't have to do this, you can just hold it upside down, but I just do this as a general rule, just because it keeps the locos nice and safe. So what I do first is I'll take the couplings off. Now you don't really have to do this, but I do it just because the couplings are a little bit delicate, they are made of plastic, so if you catch them or bend them, you might break them. So I just take those off, and it's just, each one is just held on by one screw. And with the couplings out the way, you can actually get the body off a whole lot easier. So there's the couplings out the way. This method I'm going to show you today, it should work for all versions of Thomas, although this is the new version, which I reviewed, and you can check out that review if you want to. But as far as I know, this should work or be very similar on all versions of Thomas, or in fact all Hornby 060 locomotives. But on this one I have a little lug here which holds the body on, so very gently with the screwdriver, and as I say, you're probably not going to see this, but you'll know what I mean if you've got one. You should be able to just gently force this lug back, and it does take a little bit of work to get this off, and you should be able to just lever it off. Oops, there we go. I don't like to use so much force, but it is a bit awkward to get those off. And then the body should come right off, and then of course you're going to want to put the body somewhere safe where it's out the way. But yeah, that's the most awkward bit done. So the first thing you have to do is just turn it upside down like this, and this one does sit quite nicely upside down. And you're going to want to undo the 3 screws, or however many screws are on the bottom. And what we're trying to do here is trying to get the wheel set out so that we can clean it, or at least clean where it sits, and clean the pickups. And don't worry, this does seem like quite the daunting task, doesn't it, to take the wheels out, and when I first did this it was a bit of a panic situation, but really it's nothing to worry about, and these are very simple, they've only got the connecting rods, there's no linkage or anything. Alright, so once you've got those screws out, this whole panel, if you want to call it that, I'm not sure what the correct name is, should come out, and you can just put that to one side obviously for safekeeping, and then you should find that the wheel set is free to come out like this. Just remember which way that goes. Yeah, just remember which way it goes. Okay, so now what you should have is access to the axles, or where the axles go, and also the pickups. So what you're going to want to do with your lighter fluid, which I will open with the screwdriver, or your, the cleaning fluid of your choice, you're going to want to clean up those pickups, and you're also going to want to inspect, I'm sorry I don't really know the correct term for these, you're going to want to inspect these little cavities here where the axles sit, just to make sure there's no dirt or hair, and of course if they do look dirty, you can take a little bit of nail polish remover, or in my case lighter fluid, and just clean out those gaps. Now mine doesn't really need to be serviced, mine was running fine, but if it's been run for a long time, those are going to be pretty dirty. And these pickups you see here, these are what pick up power from the wheels and take them to the motor, and if they're dirty then the loco won't run properly, or I should say Thomas won't run properly. So you just want to take the lighter fluid again on a clean cotton bud this time, but mine's not dirty already obviously, so I don't need to change it. But yeah, as the cotton buds get dirty you're going to want to change them, and you just want to really clean those up. There we go. And a little bit of cotton bud there has snagged onto one of those, so you just want to pick them up. But yeah, be careful with these pickups because they are pretty delicate and you really don't want to bend or snap any of those, so that's alright. Now you're also going to want to check on the axles of the wheel set as well, just to make sure there's no hairs wrapped around them, because hair on axles of course is not a good idea, and it does, it will add a lot of resistance to the way Thomas runs. So yeah, once you've done that, and you're happy that everything's clean, you want to take your oil, a lubricant of your choice, and the secret with this is to do it quite gently and not add too much. Now if you're not using one of these oiling pens, you're just going to want a needle or a paper clip or something like that that you can dip into the oil and then just apply a small amount. But because I've got the oiling pen, it just comes out the end of the pen, which is quite useful. And you're just going to want to oil each of these places. Now it's not entirely necessary to do this because it's running on bearings, but I like to do it anyway, just in case your Thomas isn't. But yeah, then you get the wheel set to go in like this, and you're going to want to put one set of wheels in at a time. So I'll do the back ones first. You want to pinch those pickups and then drop the wheels back in like that. Make sure the pickups go behind the wheels. If they don't worry, you can put them in again later. So pinch the middle set, and you need to try and line those little bearings up and just push it in like that. That's the middle set just about gone in. There we go. And the back end, I'll just lift those out again, squeeze the pickups in and then push the wheels down. And that should be sitting flush. And as you can see now, all the pickups are now behind the wheels, as you can see there, on both sides. I'm not going to turn it upside down because they're going to drop out again. Okay, so now what you want to do is you want to apply oil now to these bearings. And this is the important bit, this is the one you do have to do. There we are. So a bit of oil on each of the bearings. And then you're going to want to put a little bit on this gear, right there. And that gear is of course the main driving gear, so it's important that that one's lubricated. So once everything's oiled and you're happy that it's all it's all clean and oiled, you can begin to put this thing back together before we move on to the wheel cleaning, because dirty wheels is probably the main cause of poor running. So I'm just going to screw these back in because of course we can't turn it back the right way without the wheels coming off, so I've got to screw these back in. But as I say, don't put the couplings back on yet, you can wait until the end to do that. So here we are, just screwing these back in. I'm just screwing them in very loosely for now, just while I get all three back in. And then once all three are in, you can do it a little more tightly. So there we go, I can tighten those up now they're all in. Okay, so now let's move on to the motor. Now these motors are generally unserviceable. Oops, I've got one of my pickups sticking out, hang on. There we go. Yeah, as I say, these motors are generally unserviceable, but what you can do is you can just add a little drop of oil to the rear bearing of the motor, and you can see just there, that's where the rear bearing is. You just put a little drop of oil on that. It's not entirely necessary, but it might just improve things very slightly. And I don't think there's any real need to get this motor out and look at the worm wheel, but if you wanted to, I suppose you could undo this screw and that might expose it, but I'm not too sure, but I haven't really found the need to do that. But yeah, that's cool. So what we'll do now then is we will get the wheels cleaned. Now this is where the pickups, sorry, not the pickups, this is where the crocodile leads are going to come in. And what I have here, oops, just in case anybody hasn't seen these before, this one's a helping hand. Now you don't have to do this, you can just balance it on its end to do this, but because I've got a helping hand, I'm going to do it the posh way. And I'm just going to clamp Thomas's chassis onto here, like this, and just hold it in place, like that. Alright, and that's going to make the wheel cleaning a whole lot easier. Now what you're going to want to do is you want to clip these wires onto each side of the motor. So I don't think you're going to see this too well, but I will show you afterwards where they go if you can't work it out. But they go on each side of the motor, well, on each wire I should say, from each side of the pickups. And then you're going to want to apply a little bit of power. Here we go. There we go, and that's running nice and fast. And so this is when you can take your cotton buds again. I'll get a few out here, 2 or 3. And what this does is this allows Thomas to get running again. You know, it gets all the oil worked in, and it gets his wheels clean, of course. So what you do is you get your cleaning fluid, and then you just wipe it onto each wheel, like that. Getting a little bit clicky, that is, because it's not used to running upside down. And the very important thing is to clean the inside of the wheels as well, because of course that's where the power goes. So it's very important that you do that. And even though mine's not had a lot of running, you'll notice it does have a lot of dirt on the wheels. So it's important really to do this as often as you well, as often as you need to, but you know, once every 6 months is about the right amount of time to leave in between the services. And just make sure it's going to run absolutely perfect. There we go. I'll just disconnect one of those, saves me going to turn it off. Alright, so that's the service. Let me add a little bit of oil to the linkage rods, and you want to do this very, very, well, carefully, and you don't want to use very much. So just a tiny little bit of oil on each of these pivots, or points of connection, whatever you want to say. Tiny little bit, because if you use too much this is going to splash all over your newly cleaned wheels. Okay, so that's good. Let me put that back. And once the whole thing is clean, and once it's all assembled again, you can get his body back out. Here we go. And then this is the fun part, isn't it? Trying to get this back on. Let me move the helping hand out of the way. There we are. You can try, if you dare, and get the body back on. So you just need to find, you see these lugs at the front here? These need to line up and go inside the lugs on the body. Like that. Yep, they're in. And then the best way to do this is just push down. There we go, and it will click into place. Now it doesn't feel quite right using so much force on Thomas there, but you really kind of have to get that to go in. So there we are. Now let's just add those couplings back on. Now the couplings should be identical. The front and the back shouldn't have any difference, so you can just screw them back in whichever way you like. But of course it doesn't hurt if you remember which way they went. But yeah, let me get this screw in. Sorry if you can't see that too well. There we are, that's one back on. And here's another one. Screw that back on. A bit awkward, these screws, for some reason. They don't seem to line up too well. That gone in? Yep, there we go. There we go. Right, that's it. So that's Thomas up and running again, hopefully. So yeah, just make sure there's no hairs on the axles, no dirt everywhere. Clean the wheels, clean the pickups, oil the motor if you want to, and hopefully that should be all he needs. You can't really service the motor, as I say. They are sort of non-serviceable. But yeah, there we go. Let me go and try him then. Let's see how he runs on the line. Okay, so here's Thomas then, ready to be tested, and Annie and Clarabelle are already waiting for him, as you can see. So let's try him then, let's see if it works. Nice and slowly. Yep, and let's take them off then, just to check. Yep, that seems to be running quite nice. So there's just a few tips anyway on how I service Hornby 060s or Thomas. And hopefully if you give that a try yourself, you might be able to get Thomas working good as new again, just like mine is. So yeah, hopefully that helps, and hopefully that answers the question on how to service these. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. I hope that was useful, as I say. And please check out some of my other videos if you'd like. There's quite a few on there now, well over 200. And if you'd like to, you can check out the Facebook and Twitter pages. They're at facebook.com/samstrains or twitter.com/samstrains. It would be lovely to see you on there, but for now, thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you very soon. Cheers everybody.